Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. Very excited to introduce the incoming section president, Mr. Tony Letendre. Tony is the Assistant General Manager at Dove Canyon Country Club in Orange County. Mr. Letendre, for those of you that don't know him, has been a PGA member since 2004. He was the head professional at Toscana Country Club in Palm Desert for 8 years. He was the director of golf at Newport Beach Golf and Tennis for 3 years. He was also the director of golf at the Professional Golfers Career College in Temecula. Spent time in teaching with the First Tee, and has been the recipient of some prestigious awards on the Desert Chapter level, Golf Professional of the Year in 2007 and 2009. And he was also the recipient of the Horton Smith Award in 2017 on the section level for the Southern California section, as well as the Inland Empire Chapter. Good morning, Mr. President Letendre. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm great, and good morning, everybody.
Want to start off today. You know, a lot of people do know you. Of course, you've been involved in the section for many years, but a fair amount of people, I'm sure, on the call don't know you as well as they're going to after the call. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the game of golf and your journey towards PGA profession?
Well, certainly, you know, I've been very fortunate. I've spent my entire career in this section. I've, you know, started as an apprentice back at the time. Now we call associates, but was an apprentice and worked at PGA West and a couple other facilities, the Reserve out in the desert. I got my start in golf from my grandfather. He was a scratch golfer when I was a kid. I was probably about 5.5 years old. I played my first round of golf. Little information about me that not a lot of people know is that the first time I ever played 18 holes of golf was from the forward tees at Desert Horizon Country Club, and I shot 206. So I've come a long way from there. I got in the PGA program. The minute I became a PGA member, I was tasked by Dennis Foster, who was one of my mentors, and said, "You need to get involved." He always said, "Don't stand at the back of the room and throw darts." He said, "Stand at the front of the room and catch some of those darts." And the minute I became a PGA member, it was May of 2004, and he got me elected to the Desert Chapter Board that year in November, and I served as the apprentice chairman there, and that really started my PGA governance. Once I ran through the chairs in the chapter, I got onto the section board as the chapter representative, eventually an at-large director, and now you're president. So that's kind of how I got here.
So that's how the journey's been so far. For those of us that are on the call, can you explain the relationship between the board and the section staff?
Sure. I think it's better than ever the last few years. We have a long succession of some great leaders in our section, and it continued to build that relationship with the section team. And I think one of the things that it probably started with Jeff Johnson and carried through with John McNair. It probably started before this, but this was really my involvement. But I know with Jeff and with John McNair and Todd Kiefer before me, you know, we really tried to make sure that the section staff had all the tools that they needed to do their job, right? You know, the way we look at it is the section is its own machine, and we have people in place to do that job, and the officers and the board of directors are really in place to provide the right tools for them to do that job and to make our section successful. We're about a $5.5 million business over the 3 lines of business that we have, and it's a lot of things to do and a lot of things going on. But with Tom at the helm and Jeff as his right-hand guy, some exciting things that we're doing. We've got a great team at the office. They are top drawer, and they want just what's best for all the section members. I mean, I can't believe just how accessible those guys are to all of us, those guys and gals at the section office, and we appreciate them for that. And I hope as members and apprentices or associates, you'll take advantage of that.
Can you speak a little bit to the progression and the transition from secretary and then most recently vice president into your presidency, and the tools that apply to each progression?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot. You know, you feel like you come to the table with a lot, and you feel like you've got some good experience, and you know, you get confident and you feel pretty good about yourself, and then lo and behold, you step into the boardroom or you step into one of the officer roles and you realize just how much you need to learn, and it's really kind of humbling. The secretary role was great because you still got to be involved with the membership. You know, I transitioned from the apprentice chair in our section. I was the apprentice chair for 4 years. And when I rolled into the secretary role, you know, you're in charge of the membership component of our section. So it was really kind of a nice transition to stay involved there. For me personally, I'm not particularly a numbers guy, so it was a little bit of a daunting task to take on the vice president's role and be in charge of our financials and be in charge of our investment. But you find real quickly that you've got a great team of people around you and a lot of very smart people around you that help you learn and help you adapt, and you just continue to get better. You know, I think one of the things for me being the president is I want to make sure that we keep that connectivity and keep that network going and that continual education, because I think it's important that we continue to learn from one another. I mean, I learn from people every day, and I know that the people that I learn from are also learning every day. So it's really kind of a neat progression that I've seen, and been a lot of fun, been a fun ride.
And as the vice president overseeing finances for our 3 pieces of business, can you talk a little bit about the relationship between the vice presidency and Canterbury Consulting?
Oh yeah, it's great. When I became the vice president, one of the actions that the board took was to let Canterbury become more involved with the day-to-day. And I said this at the annual meeting for those of you that were there, so I apologize if this is redundant to you, but what we did was we asked them to really be tasked with managing the portfolio on a day-to-day basis. The way that it happened in the past is that if we saw some market fluctuations or we saw some things we were a little worried about, we'd call an emergency investment committee meeting, and we'd get everybody together and we'd talk about our strategy, talk about our plan, and we'd get in touch with Canterbury and make some changes. Well, there were times where we maybe missed out on a great opportunity or ended up losing a little more than we had hoped to lose, you know, because of a market fluctuation or something like that. By hiring them to manage our portfolio on a day-to-day basis, or, you know, on a week-to-week, whatever it is that they keep an eye on it. But it allowed us to take advantage of some of the market transitions and really make sure that we're in a good position and protect our investment. I joked with Jason at the annual meeting, with Jason Levy with Canterbury, that I wanted to see our investment portfolio grow to $11 million by the end of my term as vice president. And we just cracked that barrier, which was really exciting. What that does is it allows us to run the programs at the section level that we want to run. You know, we take a rolling 3-year average off of the investment to feed into section programming, player golf, and education and things like that for our members, to benefit our members. And as long as that account keeps growing more than what we're taking out of it, we'll be successful. And so far, so good.
Now, it's on in the forefront of a lot of our minds. What does the PGA's move to Frisco, or potential move to Frisco or Texas, mean to our Southern California section?
You know, it's interesting. I think it's a great opportunity for our association. I think one of the biggest things and one of the major components to this move was being a little bit more of a central location. You know, Frisco, Texas is just outside Dallas, and makes it accessible from anywhere with pretty much one flight, which is, I think, a huge thing for our association. you may or may not know the new plan now is not to only move the entire headquarters operation to Frisco, Texas, but to also keep a satellite office in West Palm Beach, or Palm Beach Gardens, sorry, and as well as to keep our satellite office that we have in New York City. Obviously, the New York office is great for all the TV contracts and negotiations and things that happen there. We've got a great team of people in Florida, a great core of people that we want to keep, you know, there. I'm hopeful that at some point there's a plan to do a satellite West Coast office. That's just Tony Letendre's opinion. That's not the opinion of anybody else, but I hope that we'll look at that. I mean, the move to Frisco is an hour closer to us, which is great, but you know, I could see a need for maybe a West Coast satellite type office, maybe even here in our section. As far as the facility, I think it's going to be a tremendous facility. The golf courses are going to be amazing. From what I can tell, I think it's awesome to be able to host a PGA championship, Ryder Cup down the line, especially those being our own championships at our own facility, which would be really cool.
Let's downshift a little bit to how important is the PGA's relationship with the allied associations and why?
Well, I think it's very important, and I know it sounds cliche to say you always want to keep your friends and keep your connections, but I truly believe that. You know, we have a very unique opportunity in our section that we have such a large golfer base. You know, you look at the numbers for the Southern California Golf Association and just the impact that they have at our 17 or almost 1,700 members and associates in our section. You know, it's unique. I say unique because this is what I see. I don't necessarily see it as closely around the country, but I see it here. Our relationship with the Southern California Golf Association is probably the best in the country. I say that because of Tom Addis. Tom being our executive director and his relationship with Kevin Heaney from the SCPGA, those guys are buddies. They're truly friends, and that working relationship between the two is unlike anything else. They're able to bounce ideas off one another. We've talked in the past about trying to partner on ideas with each other to grow golf in Southern California. And then between that and the connections we have with, you know, Friends of Golf and the Golf Course Superintendents Association and all of the associations here, California Golf Alliance, you know, all of the great people that we work with and we communicate with on a regular basis is only making us better. It keeps us in tune. I know that the membership of the Southern California PGA gets to see the benefit of some of those things, because if you're reading your email and reading the things that we get from the section office that are passed down, information about taxes coming through, information about water restrictions, information about, you know, all of these great things that help us run our business at our clubs, I think it's just very, very important. I find myself, you know, it's funny, I find myself kind of forwarding those emails to my director of golf and my superintendent, and just to keep them in the know as to what's going on when laws change and water restrictions and all of those things. So I think it's amazing. I think it's great, the relationships that we have. And again, as I said, it only makes us better.
Who are some of your role models, some of your mentors?
Oh gosh, the list is so long. You know, obviously I mentioned Dennis Foster early. He is one of the first people. I always say that he's the reason I'm a golf professional. You know, there's people on this call, Tom Addis, Jeff Johnson. I mean, those guys are mentors to me. They keep me in line when I start to do something stupid. They help guide me with issues I have at the club. I mean, I've worked for a great guy in Bill Field at the Reserve when I was there. Some of you may know Bill Field. And I'll never forget that one of the things he told me as a golf professional, now I was at the Reserve at the time, and it's a pretty affluent membership. Oh, I'm sorry, I just got a text that there's an audio echo. I'm hearing it a little bit, but I don't know if it's me or if it's you, John.
I'm responding to Ron Castillo and Rob Osterhaus that say that they're hearing music, but I'm muted in and out of the questions, and your audio sounds perfect on my end. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Okay. Thanks for the text, Bryce. Do you want me to hang up and dial back in, or should we leave it alone, John?
No. If you hang up, I think we'll
lose me.
Yeah, I don't think you can get back in.
Okay. Sorry for the little segue there. Thanks, Bryce. I'm glad you're paying attention, buddy. So back to Bill Field. So, Bill was great because he was a good player and he believed in playing golf. And I'll never forget what he told me. I was at the reserve. It was a pretty affluent membership. And he said to me one time, he said, Tony, these people can buy and sell you 100 times over, but what they can't do is hit that little white ball like you can. So as long as you maintain your golf game, you will always have an edge over those people. And I thought about that, and I've always kind of lived that in my career, in the fact that, look, I'm not a great player. I can get it around a little bit and have some fun, but, I'm not going to go out there and win the section championship. But I've always believed that I should maintain my game to that level to be able to play and to be able to shoot in the low to mid 70s and members want to play with that individual, right? So I've always tried to instill in people after Bill instilled in me that, golf is important. We are in this business because we like the game and we want to be around the game. So let's make sure we make time to play. Even if it's 10 minutes after work, go hit a few chips, putt with your guys on their lunch break. Whatever it is. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to stay connected to the game, and I think that's important. So Bill being one of my mentors, I think was, I'm very grateful that he instilled that in me. There's so many people that down the line, just naming those 4, I've probably offended another 50 because I didn't mention their names. Truly, I've learned a lot from a lot of different people.
Now, what can the PGA do to better serve the members? Because this is going to lead into another. I got a follow-up question to this, but what can the PGA do first to better serve its members? And the second piece of that is, what can we as members do to better serve the PGA?
Well, it's funny. When I get asked the question, and I kind of sound like a smartass when I say this, but when people ask me, what's the PGA or what's the section doing for me, I kind of turn it around to them and say, what are you doing for the section, or what are you doing for the PGA? Excuse me. I think there's a lot of things that the section and national does for the PGA member that maybe we don't realize, and a lot of times it's because the programs get fed kind of top down. And I think people miss the fact that those programs can work to your advantage, maybe not as written, but use it as a template. Use it as your benchmark to create something that does work for your program. I remember when Get Golf Ready came out, it didn't work the way they had it structured with the 5 lessons and the, so on and so forth for our business model, what we were doing. But we took that plan and we adapted it to work for us. So I think we have to be able to look, I think the PGA member has to be able to look at those things and use them the way they're intended, and that is as a template, maybe not as a cookie cutter type program. I think the biggest thing that our section can continue to provide for our section membership is opportunities for them not only to educate and better themselves, grow and become better professionals, but also opportunities to make some money incrementally at their facilities. Excuse me 1 second, because I've got a little bit of a cough. I'm going to put you on mute for 10 seconds. Sorry about that. So back to what I, saying, I think the one of the things that our section is really good at is driving some programs that do go into our facilities, and I think people miss the fact that they are revenue generators for those facilities. If you host a drive, chip, and putt, yeah, the section's going to pay you a stipend to do so, but you forget that there's incremental revenue associated with that, because the parents come and buy the kid a hot dog, and they sit and have lunch, or they have a Coke and a Gatorade, or things like that. Sometimes they check out the facility. Sometimes they come back because they really like the facility. You know, they've never been there before. I mean, sometimes at a private facility, they may join that facility after having an experience there. So there's all of that trickle down that happens by just, you know, hosting a small event like that I think people miss. And so what is the section doing for the PGA member? I think the section's doing a tremendous amount of things that do benefit the members of our section, but I think it's up to the section members to make sure that they are opening their doors, looking at these opportunities, being open-minded to some of these things and trying them. Look, everything you do isn't going to succeed, but at the end of the day, if you don't try, you won't know. And it's so easy to get stuck in that rut of we've done it this way for so long that I think we miss out on some opportunities.
Well, along those same lines, Tony, what are your thoughts on social media marketing for golf instructors and the future of online coaching?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity there, to be honest. I've actually done it myself, where somebody would send me a text or ask me a question, something about their golf swing, and I've sent them back a short little 10-second or 30-second video clip of something I want them to try, you know, giving them the explanation or showing them what I want them to try. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for that. I've actually talked to the section office about, you know, some of our connectivity and some of the things that we do socially, and I want to grow some of those programs, and I want to, you know, provide those opportunities out there for people to interact with one another and reconnect. It's a little bit cliche to say, you know, we've got the millennial generation that's really coming up, and they're all about tech and doing everything on social media, whether it's Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, all those. But I think, as cliche as that sounds to say that, I think there's some truth behind it and some reality to it, that this is how we're going to have to connect, and we're going to have to bridge that gap between those that maybe don't use it on a regular basis and those that want to use it. But I think the social aspect, social media, for playing, coaching, all those things, is really going to have a stronghold the next couple of years. And I think with our president, Susie Whaley, being a strong advocate for teaching and coaching, I think we're probably going to see some things come down the pipeline. You know, we have our Southern California PGA Teachers Huddle. Hopefully, everybody on the call is a member of that. It's a great place to share ideas and share thoughts and get opinions. And I hope that everybody takes advantage of that. I like to read through some of those things. I'm not a teacher by trade, but it's a good resource. So I think there's just a tremendous opportunity, and I think it's very, very important, especially in today's day and age. I hope I answered that question.
You did actually segue into just an announcement here that Susie Whaley is actually going to be on the Catalyst on Thursday, March 28th. So hopefully everybody can join us on that date. That's
cool.
going to be fantastic. Downshifting a little bit here, Tony, can you talk a little bit about what you have learned personally from career successes and career failures and setbacks?
Wow, that's a good one. I think if you haven't learned something along the way, then you're just not paying attention. You know, for me, I've learned a lot about my management style. I've learned a lot about my leadership style by working with professionals that I've taken good traits from, and also things that I've noted, you know, I don't want to do that in my own career. I give you a little bit of a philosophy, or a little philosophical approach to it. I had a professor in college that told us it was much better to learn from your successes than it was to learn from your failures, because when you learn from your failure, you have to unlearn one thing and relearn another thing, so it's twice the effort. Now, I know we always say you should learn from your mistakes. You never make that mistake again. But I want you to think about that philosophically, that if you're doing something great or somebody is doing something great and you learn from that, it's a lot easier behavior than to unlearn something and relearn it, right? So a little bit of philosophical approach for you. But I think that the people that I've worked with throughout my career, I've taken good, I've taken bad, and hopefully made me a better professional in the long run. You know, I certainly have my shortcomings, and I appreciate when people call me out because I'm trying to learn and grow myself. And I'm just hoping to be a good mentor to those that are following me. You know, and really what's interesting is all I'm doing is passing along all the great advice that I got along the line.
Could you list a couple goals or visions that you have for your presidency?
Sure. I just put it up on the screen so you can see it. The number one is ask the members why they joined the PGA. You know, Wes Wailahua, who's the executive director of the Aloha section, said something, and you saw it in the media release. If you saw the media release that the section sent out, he said everything we do creates a legacy for the section, not for the president. And I've taken that very close to my heart because I think it's very important that our section be better at the end of my 2 years as president. You know, I sit here for 2 years, and all I'm doing is continuing the great work that the leaders before me accomplished, and hopefully start some things that the leaders behind me will be able to accomplish as well. But it's for the section, and I want to reconnect with our section and find out, you know, why is it that members join the PGA? Why is it that you became a PGA member? What is it about this business that got you excited? Because I feel like there's a lot of complacency out there, and I think it's just a reconnect with why we got into this business. You know, I love golf. You know, I don't drink, breathe, sleep it like Michael Block does. You know, he's watching the Golf Channel, you know, 25 hours a day. But I do love the game, and I do love being around the club and being around the members. And I enjoy everything about what I do. And I always have. But I feel like there's a lot of people out there that just kind of go through the motions, and they don't feel like their PGA membership has value, or that their PGA, you know, why did they join the PGA? So I'd like to reconnect with the member in that regard, and get people to maybe remember why they did, and hopefully spark that interest in the game again, and maybe make us better. Another thing that I'd like to see is along those lines is more engagement. I think, you know, again, it goes back to that complacency. You know, there's, I think I'm looking at my screen, there's 23 people on this call, and I think it's great that 23 people want to listen to me talk for an hour, and I'm humbled and I appreciate that. But when we have Susie Whaley on the line, why wouldn't we have, you know, 1,000 people on that call? Now, there's a chance we will. I can't look into the crystal ball, and maybe we will. But I don't know if we will in my heart. And I would like to see that happen. I'd like to see more member engagement, and get our membership to feel there's value to be a PGA member and be involved with our association. Because the more involved we are, the better and stronger we are as a section.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between the section and the chapters, and ways to improve that, or build on programs, or an idea on how you'd like to leave that when your presidency is over?
Sure. One of the things that we've started to do, and this is not Tony Letendre started, or Tony Letendre is going to champion. This is something we've already started to do, which is integrate the chapters a little bit more from a grassroots level. You know, the term grassroots member, you know, our chapter member, they're really the front line when it comes to programming and what the pulse of the membership and what the pulse of the golfer is in their market. So I'd like to see a little bit more of a communication come back from the chapters. I mean, we do a little bit of push trying to get information from the chapters, but I'd like to see the chapters engage a little bit more with their chapter leaders, so that their chapter leaders can engage with section leaders and section staff, and be able to let us know what you need. We've kind of infiltrated that or started to do that with the committee structure. We've got, for instance, for the budget committee, I'll speak about the budget committee because I chaired that the last 2 years. We integrated the chapter vice presidents as members of that committee in order to get a better pulse of what the chapters need and to help get a different view on what our budget and plan should be for the upcoming year. So having the chapter vice presidents involved really helped with getting a little bit of what the chapter wants and what will benefit the chapter, having that input. So it's not just the section office in the proverbial ivory tower telling everybody what to do. We really connect with that member. We've talked about some new things that are coming down the pipeline. We're looking at bringing on board a chief membership officer with our section, and that person's responsibility is going to help connect with the chapter and help with Cracker Barrels and get the pulse on the association, because the team at the office can't be everywhere. Tom can't be everywhere. Jeff can't be everywhere. So the more communication that way we can have, I think the better, and the more engagement. But then it falls back on the chapter members, right? It falls on those chapter members to reach out to their leaders and to talk about what they need so that those leaders can bring that to the table. So again, it's that it goes back to those 2 bullets that are on the screen. Why did you get into PGA, and how can we get more member and associate engagement?
When we talk about exploring the idea of a chief membership officer and someone to kind of work alongside the employment consultants, is there a vision or an attitude, if you will, about making career links more relevant with some of the bigger headhunters out there, with the bigger jobs and opportunities that we have in the industry?
Say that question again. I want to make sure that I answer it correctly, because give me that one more time, John.
Where do you see PGA career links evolving or rebranding itself so that it can compete with some of the bigger headhunters out there? It seems like the bigger jobs and the 1%ers you don't see through PGA career links. Those are more through Keebler and Koch and different independent headhunting firms like that. Is there a plan for PGA career links to become more all-encompassing?
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Now it makes sense. I kind of got what you were saying, but that part makes sense. Yeah, as a matter of fact, for those that were paying attention, during President Levy's term, and that was one of the things that was really a hot button for him, was making sure that we get more PGA professionals in some of those top roles at facilities. I mean, if you think about, my role here as the assistant general manager at Dove Canyon, my direct report, my boss, is also a PGA member, and he's our corporate general manager, oversees our 4 facilities. So that being the case, I think it's going to be very important to see some of those top roles taken by PGA members to help get more of those other roles, the secondary and, director of golf. I say secondary, I don't mean it in a disrespectful manner, but the director of golf roles and all of those, to help more PGA members get those jobs. It'll help with increased competition and things like that. But one of the things that President Levy did with his connection with Dick Copeland and Keebler and those guys is that allowed our career consultants to have a little bit more influence on jobs. Okay, so obviously a career consultant, and Ken Farrell, is our career consultant. He's not going to pick one PGA member over another. It's not his job to do that. His job is to help everybody be as prepared as possible for an interview and be able to guide an employer towards hiring a PGA member. But he's never going to tell an employer, you need to pick this candidate over this candidate, nor should he. However, what they've done on the national level by increasing the number of career consultants, they have opened up the doors to what they're calling their platinum search, and it's a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more in-depth approach to hiring with those clubs, or those boards of directors that are seeking these PGA members and so forth. So now what they're in a position to do is provide a little bit more hands-on, where they'll help field the resumes, help sort through the resumes, help the club define what their top 5 qualities are in each candidate, narrow them down to a X number, that they want, whatever that number is determined by the hiring team. And help guide them towards that process. So I think by the PGA doing a little bit more of an in-depth look in that regard, or an in-depth assistance, I think that's going to be able to help us compete, I guess, with the Coupler and Keeblers and things like that. Now, doesn't mean that we as PGA members shouldn't subscribe to those job notifications, and I get the emails, whenever they post a job, and they're posting jobs all over the country, so it's good to be in that network. And I promise you there's PGA members and leaders in our section that were hired at their respective jobs through those firms. So I think working with them is a good way to go, but our career consultants are doing, I think, a tremendous job of that, and actually being able to do those platinum searches, I think, is really, really going to be helpful down the line. I know the number is up every year on the number of platinum searches Ken does.
Now, this is more of a logistical question coming in from Ron Castillo. Ron, I don't mean to single you out here, but it's relevant to me as well. Well, I've been a member since 2000, and there used to be a hard paperback directory that came out every year, where if you wanted to track down a PGA professional, you could track him down through his facility or through his name. Is that up to date online? And is there let me read the rest of this. Can we have an updated member list and their facilities in 2019 on the section level? Because I don't think the SCPGA.org has that.
I would have to defer to Tom and Jeff on that one, if we have an updated list. But I do know that through PGA.org, the member directory is much more user-friendly than it has been in the past. I know that they have worked with that system. It was bad. Let's just be honest. It was bad for a little while there. But I know that it's a lot easier, a lot better to find PGA members and associates around the country through PGA.org. Ron, specifically to your question, I don't know if I would ever see us going back to a paperback version of that, nor, to be honest, would I be an advocate of that, but that's just my opinion. I like to do everything digitally and have it at the palm of my hand in my little parasite that I carry in my pocket every day. But I think as long as we keep that up to date, it's tremendous. I know that we are working on at the section level, and again, I might have to send a follow-up to this, or maybe I can catch up with you offline as a follow-up. But I know at the section level we are working on updating our database and doing something through our SCPGA app to be able to have a similar type directory to what the SCGA used to put out for golf courses, and we'd have PGA members and apprentices and things like that. The other thing I think that's important with the digital side is that we're able to update it up to the minute, and with people changing jobs or leaving and coming and going from the section and things like that, I think it's easier to keep everything more up to date. But I think from that level, I know it's something that we've talked about in the past. I'd have to circle back with you though and find out where we are on it.
Now, at the annual meeting that we had over the summer in San Diego, where PGA National has diversified marketing efforts to grow membership in terms of general management, teaching and coaching, and golf operations. That's, of course, on the national level. That's at the 50,000 foot level. Where do you see that relevant for our section? Where do you see that breaking down for us?
You mean as far as numbers go, or as far as a value to the 3 career paths?
Both.
Well, numbers I couldn't even begin to guess, to be honest. You know, there's a lot of teachers in our section. It's funny. I went to the Teaching and Coaching Summit this year at the Grand, which was an amazing, amazing day for those that on the call that got to participate in that. And hopefully you'll look at it for next year at Pechanga. But I'll tell you what, there were a lot of faces there of people that I didn't know, didn't see, and it's people that are teaching behind the scenes, you know, whatever, and just I haven't seen them around the section because they're there for a teaching seminar. So I thought it was really cool to see the different faces. So there's definitely that market for it. From a national level, I think the career paths give somebody an opportunity to really focus on what they want to focus on. And there's some value, I think, in the general education perspective of the program, but I think I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. It's kind of like going to college, right? You go to college and you take your general ed courses, and then you have your major. And so, you know, if you want to study, I studied hospitality, hotel management. So I took all of my general ed courses, my math, my history, my English, and then I took the hotel-focused courses, right? I think that's the intent, or I know that's the intent of what National is trying to do, so that those who want to pursue management can, those that want to pursue teaching can. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be an overlap between them all, and I think it won't be as segregated as maybe it sounds on paper.
This question is coming in from Sean Keller. What's the best way for a member in the section to communicate to the board about needs, wants, and desires? How does the member get in touch with the section board?
Well, there's a lot of different ways to do that, Sean, and thanks for the question. So you can start with, you got a pen and paper? You can start with me. It's PGA Pro 1198 at gmail.com. Now, if you missed that, you can go on the section website and you can find any of our board members' contact information. Okay, myself, the vice president, the secretary, any of the board members, you can send one of us an email. If it's specific to a certain topic, you know, maybe you send it to a committee chair. If it's something about tournaments, you send it to Jim Gormley, our committee chairman. If it's something about education, you know, you send it to the education committee, Rob Oosterhouse, Eric Lohman. So there's a lot of different ways to connect. If you're not sure about who to send it to, obviously you've got my email address, my contact information. You can always contact the section office. Tom, Jeff, anybody, the team there can point you in the right direction or pass your information along. You know, Tom's information, you can send him an email and it can be forwarded. You can call any of us. You know, you can call me at Dove, you can call me on my cell phone, whatever. There's plenty of ways, so and I encourage you to do that. I appreciate that you asked that question because it sounds like maybe you've got some feedback or would love to talk about some things, and I'd love to talk to you too.
Okay, I don't have any further questions that have come in on the Q&A panel, and any parting thoughts? Anything that you would like to leave the attendees of the Catalyst webinar with this morning, Tony?
Yeah, you know, I just want to just say a heartfelt thank you. You know, in 2007, I was appointed to the section board because I was the chapter president and I became the chapter rep. It was shortly after that I got elected to the board. I got elected to the board in a general membership election, and have served my time and got reelected. And so I owe a debt of gratitude to everybody who voted and put me in this position. I really enjoy serving our association, and my goal is to make our association better. It's not about how Tony Letendre benefits, it's how the PGA members benefit, both at our section level and national. And I think that if we're doing great things in our section, we're the third largest section in the country. And I think if we're doing some great things, people notice. And so I think that has an influence on the rest of the PGA membership around the country. I appreciate everybody's support of me, of our board, our team at the office. I think it's so cool that we have such a great network and a great relationship amongst one another to be able to be such a great section. We're lucky that our district is very close. The Aloha section PGA and the Northern California section PGA, it's very unique. And so I'm very thankful for all of that, but I couldn't have done it without everybody that has supported me and helped me along the way in various ways. And I just want to make sure that I can be accessible and hopefully make your membership better for you and jog your memory as to why you got into this business, because I think that's important, and the more we remember that, the better off we're going to be. We should be proud of this badge that we wear, and we should be proud to support it and proud to say that we're PGA members.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Letendre. Excuse me. Thank you very much. And attendees of the Catalyst webinar series, as usual, we'll be sending out the recording for this morning's Catalyst and a short quiz be coming out to you here within the next hour. Please take the quiz and return it to Sharon Kerfman at skerfman@PGA HQ. A score of 70% or higher will earn 1 MSR credit for being on this morning's call. And this is our last Catalyst of 2018, and we'll be reconvening and starting out 2019 on January 10th with Jeff Sanders, the Executive Vice President of Golf Events and Langardere Sports, PGA Tour, the Desert Classic, and the Safeway Open. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been a great year. Happy New Year. Happy holidays to you. And President Letendre, thank you very much for your time and your insight today. We do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Happy holidays, everyone, and enjoy your holiday season.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.